Let's review. Hopefully, you took a few minutes to apply the first sounds of A through Z to the 100 most frequently used words. These are the words that you can decode using just those sounds. They're shown in green. Notice that this is 16 of the 100 most frequently used words that we can already decode using the commonly taught phonics knowledge. Now, how about the Dolch words? On page 12, you will find a list of all of the Dolch words that can be decoded using just the first sounds of A through Z. This is 58 of the 315 Dolch words. That's 18%. These words are easily decodable using commonly taught phonics knowledge. So let's explore how to use sounding out the sight words. There are two ways to use these lessons. The first is to teach lesson by lesson, and the second is to teach word by word. We are going to be going through in part 1 of the training, lesson by lesson. However, all students need to begin with the knowledge found in the pre-lesson. The pre-lesson is a prerequisite set of skills needed by all students using sounding out the sight words. And you'll see that there are two prerequisite skills. The first is to be able to blend one-syllable words from an auditory prompt, and the second is to be able to read the most common sounds of the single-letter phonograms A through Z. That's what we did in the previous video. When you have that knowledge, you'll be able to read all of the words found on page 12. So let's look a little bit more closely at step 1. Blend one-syllable words from an auditory prompt. This phonemic awareness skill of blending words from an auditory prompt is the phonemic awareness skill most highly correlated with reading success. Now remember, phonemic awareness is the understanding that words are comprised of individual sounds. So there are 45 sounds in English, and understanding that a spoken word can be one or more of those sounds in combination, and being able to hear those sounds and blend them together or take a word and segment it apart, that is the essential phonemic awareness. Those are the essential phonemic awareness skills you need to be able to read and spell in English. So a phoneme is a sound, and we can segment words into their individual sounds. So I like to show students a series of pictures and then ask them to blend the words together after I segment them. So for example, we have the word fish, and the student would then say fish and point to the fish, or k, duck, or ow, cow, or s, horse. Notice, for the pre-lesson, all students need to be able to do is blend one-syllable words. However, I'd like to give you a tip as a teacher. Being able to blend multi-syllable words is important to being able to read multi-syllable words. So an extension to this activity is to show images of multi-syllable words, and then you as the teacher segment them and the student blend them. For example, b, a, s, k, e, t, basket. K, e, monkey. These are great skills to practice and are vital for being able to read and to spell in English. Once students can blend one-syllable words easily, so when you say the student says lamp, then they're ready. They have that prerequisite skill needed for the rest of the lessons. So the other skill then is to read those sounds of A through Z, to be able to learn that these phonograms represent sounds. And many of our students already know these initial sounds. When you're teaching the first sounds of A through Z, I would encourage you to emphasize the sounds, not the names. Too often we teach these as A, B, C, D. However, D-O-G doesn't say anything about how to read this word. Knowing the sounds d-a-g, dog, helps us to read the sounds and then use our phonemic awareness skill of blending to blend it into the word dog. That's how the skills of phonemic awareness and systematic phonics work together. Also, when you're practicing the sounds of A through Z, I encourage you to use and to emphasize the lowercase letters. We use uppercase letters only for proper nouns and at the beginning of sentences. Students need to know both, but the lowercase letters are more important to being able to read initially and to being able to unlock the most texts. So begin with the lowercase letters. Once they have those mastered, add in the uppercase letters and talk about how they're related. So once you've taught all of the green section of the pre-lesson, you'll notice there's a gold section for games. This section has suggested games from the Logic of English game book. And you'll notice in the pre-lesson there are phonemic awareness games, a phonogram game, and a word fluency game. So the games are suggestions. They're ways to practice these skills for the students to develop mastery. You can substitute other games from the game book, or you can substitute other games that you already use. The idea here, though, is to practice and help the students develop mastery through games. All right, we are ready for lesson 1. Lesson 1, you'll notice, has 2 pages. There's a student page where you see a phonogram card at the top and a list of words. And then there's a teacher's page with the instructions for teaching. This makes it convenient to hold up the book for your students to see one side and for you to see the instructional material on the other side. So in this lesson, you'll see in step 1 that we are teaching that the phonogram S has 2 sounds, S as in S and Z. Now, many of us know that S says S as in socks, and this information is really important. It is used in these following 7 words from the Fry list, from the first 100 words, as in its, see, so, and first. But notice, if we only teach one sound, the S says S, then his becomes an exception. Now, my sons misread his as hiss over and over and over, and they misread is as is over and over and over. They were applying the phonics rule that they were taught, that S says S. But S actually says 2 sounds. It says S and Z. And so we need to teach both sounds. Also, using the Fry words, it's interesting to note that it says Z in 8 of the first 100 Fry words. So this is not an exception. It's actually very common. So we are going to learn in lesson 1 that S says S, Z, 2 sounds. And knowing this unlocks additional high-frequency words. We can now read 18 of the 100 most frequently used words and 62 of the 315 Dolch words. That's 20% of the Dolch words in just the pre-lesson and in lesson 1. Now, in lesson 1, all students, you'll see these steps, teach that S says S and Z, and then it'll say, place your hand on your throat as you say S and Z, and feel how S is, or S is unvoiced and Z is voiced. So let's do that. Let's say S, Z. Do you feel that? Do you feel how S, your voice box that isn't on, and Z it is? This is a voiced and unvoiced pair in English. So we're helping students learn a little bit more about how the sounds are created in English. Then you can ask the students, it says in step 3, to read the words in the green list. Notice the green list on under Dolch words are all of the Dolch words that use this concept and only the first sounds of A through Z. So that's all they need to be able to read these words. Then there's a list of more words. The more words are an extension. They're additional words that students can read with the first sounds of A through Z and the knowledge that S says S and Z. Notice some of these words like visit and transit are a little bit more advanced vocabulary, so you can extend the lesson and teach some more vocabulary if you desire. After you've taught the green section, there's again a section of suggested games. These lessons, starting in lesson 1, will follow a pattern. There is a suggested phonogram game, a suggested word fluency game, and a suggested spelling game. Again, you can substitute any games that you'd like that teach or that practice phonograms, word fluency, or spelling in this section. These are here to help you as a teacher. And they are from the Logic of English Gamebook. Finally, in the corner of your lesson, you'll see this list in orange called Upcoming Words. Notice the word was, always, use, also has S saying its second sound, Z. And you'll see which lesson you will need to turn to in order to be able to have all of the concepts that you need to teach how to decode these words. So it's a way to jump ahead or peek ahead with this concept and apply it to additional words. All right, we are teaching students to think about phonograms instead of just letters. Phonograms are pictures of sounds. Now, in English, there are 45 sounds and 26 letters. Again, there's not a one-to-one correspondence. So in English, a phonogram can be spelled with one letter as in T, two letters as in sh, three letters as in I, or four letters as in A. Phonograms may be spelled with 1, 2, 3, or 4 letters in English. So I'd like to show you an additional set of resources you can use to teach phonograms in English. These are completely optional and they're not listed in the book. However, Doodling Dragons is a great resource. It is an accurate ABC book. So it teaches that S says S and Z, and it has a text that uses both sounds. Skip to music, smell the rose, sandy desert, spray the hose. So again, this is an accurate ABC book. We also have a coloring book version of it. So you could have students color these pages and you could talk about the sounds. And we have phonogram songs. So I'd love to play this for you.
S says S. You are so spry when you skip to the music. You are so sweet when you smell a rose. You are so sweaty in a sandy desert. You are so splashy when you spray the hose. The sounds of S are S, S. The sounds of S are S, S. So skip to the music and smell the rose. 'Cause who knows the sounds of S? You do.
So these are some resources that you can use, once again, to extend the phonogram lessons if you would like. All right, in lesson 2 and in lesson 3, we will introduce the first multi-letter phonogram. You will see that in lesson 2, we are introducing that TH says F as in sloth. And this is found in just one of the first 105 words, with. Notice, once you have this information, students can then read the Dolch words think, thank, and with. So this information is helpful to decoding these words, and it's necessary. I'd also like you to notice that the word with is in italics. Some people say with, which brings us to lesson 3. Notice with or with is also in italics here, it's a regional pronunciation difference. So in lesson 3, we will learn the second sound of TH. It says th and v. When you practice saying this phonogram with the students, from here on out, practice it as th, v, with both sounds. This second sound v, is found in words like this, that. In fact, in the first 100 fry words, it uses its voice sound v in 10 words. So this second sound is not an exception. It's really important that you teach that this says th and v, both sounds. And once again, we have phonogram books that teach the multi-letter phonograms as well as the lowercase letters. In this case, v is found in the book Whistling Whales. And we have coloring books and songs that go along with the multi-letter phonograms too, as a way to extend the learning and add a little fun. So you'll notice in lesson 3, if you follow all students, You are reviewing the sound of v, and you are now applying the second sound to reading these words. So we step through step by step teaching these concepts so that students can decode the high frequency words. Let's go on to lesson 4. So in lesson 4, you'll notice a few differences on the page. You're going to notice there are now 4 columns, and we will explore that in a moment. First of all, let's teach the part that says to all students. So you'll notice again, your phonogram card is on the page, and we are learning that E says E as in tree. Now, when you teach the information found in this green column, you will be able to decode all of the words in green using just the first sounds of A through Z and the concept taught on this page. The words in blue use concepts taught in prior lessons, such as three. We just learned in the previous lesson that this is and we need that information to decode three. We also need it to decode teeth. So these are words that use concepts from previous lessons and the concept taught in this lesson. And the green words use just the first sounds of A through Z and the new concept. So when you're teaching, if you want to see, for example, the word three, you can look what other lessons do you need to teach for three, or review. You can look to the teacher's page in blue and you can find the word three, and you'll see that you'll need the information from lesson 2 and from this lesson, lesson 4. So that's this reference piece for you as a teacher to help remember, if you're teaching lesson by lesson, the previous concepts used in these words. Now, once again, to teach this lesson, you begin with the section for all students. So you will teach that EE says E, it says one sound, E, and you can then ask the students to read all the words in green. You'll also notice that in step 3, we are going to explain what vowels are. So they've read all the words in green. Now we'll explain vowels. So let me teach you what is a vowel. So first, let's begin with what we know. So many of us have been taught that a vowel is A, E, I, O, or U. We've just rotely memorized this information. That leaves 5 vowels in English. Some of us learned that a vowel is A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y. So maybe there's 6 vowels in English. I'm a little confused. Well, I think it's more helpful to learn what is a vowel, and that's what you'll be teaching in step 3. But let me help you understand what is a vowel. Well, first of all, a vowel is a sound you can sing, like ah. It's a sound that can be made louder and softer, like ah. Did you hear that? I could make the sound eh louder. Also, your mouth is opened or unblocked. So that's what a vowel is. Now, if that's the definition of a vowel, how many vowel sounds does English have? 15. That's right, there are 15 vowel sounds in English. One of those sounds is oi. Oi? That's right, it's a vowel. Now, many vowel sounds have multiple options for spelling in English. So we have the sound A. We could spell it like this, like this, like this, like this, and there's even others. So how many written vowels are there in English? 28. So learning A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y is a major oversimplification. It's incomplete. Those are vowels, but there are far more. There are 28 written vowels in English. All right, well, what is a consonant? A consonant is a sound you cannot sing, like s, s, s. I can't sing it. It cannot be made louder or softer, so I can't make f louder or softer. And it's blocked by your tongue, your lips, or your teeth. Now we can test sounds. So how about this sound, sh? Is it a consonant or a vowel? Sh. It's a consonant. I can't make it louder or softer, and I can't sing it. Now, when I show a phonogram like this, I need to test all of the sounds. I'm going to give you a hint as a teacher. This says 3 sounds. It says a, and ah. So I would need to test all of them. A, it's a vowel. A, it's a vowel. And ah, it's a vowel. This has 3 vowel sounds in English. We'll be learning all the sounds for this phonogram later in the training, and they're all taught in sounding out the sight words. How about this? It says b, b. I can't sing it. My lips are blocked. It's a consonant. Now this actually says 4 sounds, and once again, I'm going to give you a preview. It says ya, I, e. Ya, I, e. And we need to test all of the sounds. How about this sound, ya, 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 ya? That's a consonant sound. How about vowel, I, vowel, e, vowel. This is both a consonant and a vowel, depending on which sound it says. When it says ya, it's a consonant. When it says it's a vowel, or I or e. And just to really mix it up, in the word onion, what sound is the I making? It's making the ya sound, onion. Wow, in onion, I is saying ya, which is a consonant sound. Sometimes I can actually be a consonant. Now, this I hope is helping you understand that when we just memorize facts like the vowels are A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y, and don't understand it, we're getting incomplete information that might be confusing. Let's practice our phonograms that we've learned so far. So this says v. This says z. This says e. All right, so we have been working through our list for all students. And that's what we've just done. We've reviewed the phonograms. We've learned vowels and consonants. And then we are ready to read the words on this page. Now notice, once again, this is a little review. The words in green use just the first sounds of A through Z and the new concept. The words in blue use information from previous lessons and the new concept and the first sounds of A through Z. All right, let's talk about a few additional resources to help you as a teacher. So there is this series of Doodling Dragons, Whistling Whales, and Knitting Knights books, coloring books, and songs to help you with the phonograms. We also have a website, phonograms.logicoфenglish.com/chart, where you can see all 75 basic phonograms and hear the sounds and see sample words. So if you're struggling to master the sounds of the phonograms, this is a great reference tool, or if you have a question about the sounds. So in this blue section, again, you'll see the word 3 and you can reference the previous lessons. Then we move on to the gold section with games, and we practice from the game book or from games that you already have in order to develop mastery. So lessons 5, 6, 7, and 8 each introduced a new phonogram. So I'm going to introduce those to you rapidly. We have the sound er. Go ahead and say er. R, R, ng, ng, k, k. Excellent. So the next 4 lessons teach these phonograms. We now have the ability to read and to spell all of the words in green. That's 29 of the 100 most frequently used words, and 103 of the 315 Dolch words. We're already up to 1/3. So I'd like to show you a technique called spelling analysis that again can help you extend these lessons. This is a technique that you can use to teach the words found in sounding out the sight words, or to apply the information you're learning to additional words. So for this process, I'd like you to take out a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, and then set those down in front of you. All right, the first word we're going to practice is the word quilt. Now, I'd like you to say the word quilt. Go ahead, quilt. Now, I'd like you to use your phonemic awareness skill of segmenting. So I want you, the student, to segment the word. I will do it with you. Qua. So qua, I, o, t. Now notice, notice qua, I, o, t. I can show fingers to show students the number of phonograms, or I can use the tiles like I did on the screen. Then I would like you to sound out the word again. And this time I'd like you to write the word quilt on your piece of paper. So go ahead, independently sound out qua, I, o, t, and write it. Excellent. Now I'd like you to sound it out again, and I'm going to write it. If I had a whiteboard, I would write it on the whiteboard as you sound it out. For this, I will use these tiles, and I'll write it as you sound it out. Qua, I, o, t. Excellent. Now we will analyze the spelling of this word. First, we'll underline the qua because it needed 2 letters to say qua. It's a multi-letter phonogram. Underlining them helps us to see that as a multi-letter phonogram. Then we'll read it. Qua, I, o, t, quilt. Notice how we're taking spelling and decoding, blending these skills with phonemic awareness, the knowledge of the phonograms we've already have, and applying this to analyze and to spell and to read words. All right, the next word is street. Let's sound out street together. S, t, e, t. Notice this is a E-double-E. So I can hold up 2 fingers. I can tell students use E-double-E. Go ahead and write street, sounding it out as you write it. And now help me to write it. S, t, e, t. And now let's analyze it. Are there any multi-letter phonograms to underline? That's right, we'll underline the E. Then we can read it. S, t, e, t. Street. Excellent. The next word is farmer. Now, how many syllables are in farmer? So a tip for you as a teacher, to count syllables, you can hum a word. 2. That works because we're humming the vowels, and every syllable must have 1 vowel. So there are 2 syllables, and we're going to say to spell farm-er. I'm going to give the students the syllable break. Farm-er. Let's sound out the first syllable, farm. F, R, M. Remember, we've taught each of these phonograms how to read them, and they know this knowledge ahead of time. The second syllable is so we have farm-er. Go ahead and write farmer, sounding it out as you write it. And now help me as the teacher to write it by sounding it out. F, R, M, er. And how will we analyze it? We'll underline the R and the and then we can read it. F, R, M, farmer. Excellent. So spelling analysis is a way to practice the skills of decoding, of blending, of segmenting, and apply all of our phonogram and spelling rule knowledge to be able to read and spell words. When we get to lesson 9, as we're teaching lesson by lesson, we get to our very first spelling rule. Notice it is spelling rule 30, and it is right there for you on the top of the page. So the spelling rules we teach in sounding out the sight words are accurate. Many of us have heard this rule. When 2 vowels go walking, the first one does the talking. And this helps us to explain words like each and near, where the vowel is saying its long sound, and the first vowel is saying its long sound. But what about words like red, head, measure? Maybe we should modify how we teach this to say it says either its long or its short sound? But what about great, where, and bear? These would be exceptions. So with Logic of English and sounding out the sight words, we do not teach this rule because it doesn't work. Rather, we teach that the phonogram that you see says E, A. We teach all of those sounds, and we teach spelling rules that work. So in lesson 9, we discover our first spelling rule. And once again, you can look at the All Students section and step by step teach the concepts taught in this lesson, and you will be able to decode all of the words on the student page found in green and using just that concept and the sounds of A through Z. The rule that we learn in this lesson is we often double F, L, and S after a single short or broad vowel at the end of a base word. Occasionally, other letters are also doubled. Let's say that together one more time. We often double F, L, and S after a single short or broad vowel at the end of a base word. Occasionally, other letters also are doubled. So a takeaway from this is we double the letters F, L, and S at the end of a base word. And it says after a single short or broad vowel. So you will see each of these Dolch words have double letters. They're L's, they're S's, and then there's the occasional other letter like a G or an F. Now, it also includes this information about vowels, short or broad vowels. So in this lesson, when you teach all students, you'll see that they learn that the first sounds of the vowels are called the short sounds. A, I, A. These are the short sounds, and they're marked with a breve. That breve is a little curve, and it means that first or short sound. Now, we have all the information we need to read the words in green. So here are a few additional resources for teaching spelling rules. There are spelling rule flashcards, where we have the rule on one side and sample words on the back. These are, again, not necessary, but a way to extend or mix up the lessons a little bit. Let's go on to lesson 10. Notice in lesson 10, students will be learning 2 phonograms and 1 spelling rule. These concepts are all interrelated, and we find that students are successful learning this information all in one lesson. Once again, you will begin with the All Students section, and we will learn that A says, this says A, and this says A. We will also learn the rule that English words do not end in I, U, V, or J. Let's say it together. English words do not end in I, U, V, or J. And so, can we use this A at the end of the word? No, we cannot. Why? English words do not end in I, U, V, or J. Can we use this other one at the end? Yes, we can. So, if I wanted to spell the word play, which one would I use? That's right, I would use this one. Well, let's track our progress. Look at how many words we can now read and spell. We now know 34 of the 100 most frequently used words. That's 118 of the Dolch words, 37%, with just a few easy concepts. Let's review what we've learned so far, beginning with the phonograms. Let's read them aloud together. A, S, Z, R, K, A, F, V, E. Excellent. And we can apply those concepts using spelling analysis. So let's apply them to a handful of words. The first word is bell. So she rang the bell. And then let's sound out bell. B, E, O. And I will tell the students O. So I will give them this clue. B, E, O. So they know that there's 2 O's at the end. And then go ahead and write it, sounding it out as you write it. And then help me to write it. B, E, O. And then notice we can read the word bell, B, E, O, bell. Also, notice we doubled the L after that short S sound. Do you see it? Excellent. Let's try the word upstairs. How many syllables in upstairs? 2. We will say to spell upstairs. What will we say to spell? Upstairs. Let's sound it out. The first syllable is up. So sound it out with me. Up. The second syllable is stairs. S. This is a S. T. A. two-letter A that you may not use at the end of English words, and then Z. This is a Z. Upstairs. Go ahead and write upstairs, sounding it out as you write it. And now help me to write it. Sound it out with me. Z. And how will we mark it? Well, we'll underline the A. Also, what sound did Z say? It said its second sound, so we'll put a 2 over it. Let's try the word explain. How many syllables in explain? 2. Let's sound it out. So we'll say to spell X-plain. The first syllable is X. X. The second syllable is plain. A. Use two-letter A that you may not use at the end of English words. And go ahead and write it, sounding it out as you write it. And now help me to write it. X. Explain. How will we mark it? We'll underline the A. Let's read it. Explain. So I'd like to share a story with you as we wrap up part 1 of the training. So I had a friend named Katie, and Katie was a big fan of the book Uncovering the Logic of English. Katie one day got on an airplane and she sat down next to a woman named Allie. And Allie began to share with my friend Katie that Allie couldn't read. In fact, she needed her daughter to read new recipes to her. Allie was a functionally illiterate adult. And she explained how much she had tried through the years and the number of reading programs she'd been through, and it just didn't work. And so Katie gave Allie a copy of Uncovering the Logic of English that she had in her bag, and she got off the plane and she gave me a call and she's like, Denise, I had this amazing conversation and I gave her a copy of your book. And I was thinking, you just gave someone who can't read a copy of a book about reading. Well, something amazing happened. Allie took the charts in Uncovering the Logic of English that show the phonograms and their sounds, and maybe she asked for help about this section, but she taught herself the phonograms. And then she used the information to read the book. And then we got an email a few months later from her saying she had read her first Nicholas Sparks novel and loved it. And a few months after that, she emailed us and said that she's discovered that she loves to read poli-sci books. So what happened? Allie was able to read. Why could she go from not reading to reading? And it seems like so suddenly, and to reading both novels and poli-sci books. I think Allie's story is explained by something called the simple view of reading. The simple view of reading says that decoding times oral language comprehension equals our ability to read and comprehend. Clearly, Allie had strong oral language comprehension skills. She could have listened to Nicholas Sparks on audiobook and understood it, or listened to a poli-sci book on an audiobook and comprehended it. But Allie had weak decoding skills. She had an incomplete knowledge of phonics. And when she read or used the tables in Uncovering the Logic of English to learn the phonograms, she developed stronger decoding skills. And then she could read at the same level that she could listen and comprehend. So that's what this says. It says our decoding skills times our oral language comprehension equals our ability to comprehend. So if you have weak oral language comprehension skills, for example, I can decode in Russian. I know the Russian alphabet, but I can't listen and comprehend Russian. I can't read and comprehend. Likewise, if you have strong oral language comprehension skills, but weak decoding skills, you won't be able to read and comprehend. The great news as well is that you will be able to, when you strengthen decoding skills, help students be able to read and comprehend at the same level they can listen and comprehend. So this is exciting news, and hopefully it helps you to understand just a little bit of what we're going to continue to explore in this training. So let's summarize a little bit of what we've learned today. First of all, the first sounds of A through Z and 10 concepts unlock 34% of the 100 most frequently used words. And of those 100 most frequently used words, they comprise half of all written texts. Also, the concepts that we're learning today, or we learned today, are essential in being able to explain tens of thousands of additional words. This is powerful information. As you're teaching Sounding Up the Sight words, we have learned how to introduce one new concept lesson by lesson. And I encourage you to play games with the concepts to develop mastery. I also encourage you to practice the phonograms every single day with your students that you've taught them. Notice how we practice them a few times through the session. And then practice applying that information to reading and spelling words, and you could use spelling analysis as one of those techniques. So I look forward to having you join me for Sounding Out the Sight Words Teacher Training Part 2.